Hey everyone, welcome to ColorByFeliks. Thank you for being here today. In this video, I'm going to show you how I work with acrylic paint. And first of all, I mixed colors for my sky, lightest to darkest. And then I'm going to use my blending brush and some water. And then I'm going to pick up my first color and start laying out all my paint from lightest to darkest. This is a quick process, so when you have the right amount of water and acrylic paint laid out, then it becomes easy to blend, and water helps keep acrylic stay wet a little longer, which allows you to get that smooth blend. And here you go, I showed you I'm using a dry blending brush right now to get that smooth transitions. And after this, I'm gonna let it dry before applying next colors. And by the way, I'm painting on a 18 by 24 inch gallery canvas. And so here I mixed some colors, grayish blues, light blues, darker blues, and I'm adding the first base of my clouds. So I'm kind of getting the layout of clouds first. I like to do that. And then the more layers you add, the more the painting comes to life. And so after I have my quick sketch of clouds, I go back and I add pretty much the same colors on top and take away it. What that does is it takes away all the brush strokes and makes it look smoother. And I like to use my number 4, number 8 brushes with a little bit of water and acrylic paint, because water helps kind of run smoothly on the canvas, which allows me to make it look super smooth and clean. And so again, this is the first kind of layer I'm going through, and then after I have my highlights added, then I go back and really define it and make it look even cleaner. So after I got the sky done, I then work on the next section, which is the second furthest thing away from me, well, the third after the clouds, and those were the mountains and the land. And now I'm gonna draw a big rock right almost in the middle, a little to the right of the canvas. And again, I'm trying to keep the colors more neutral, bluish, because it's a night scene. They're further away. I don't want to add too much color up in the background yet, because as things go further, they become more like bluish and faded, right? And as things get closer to you, it's obviously going to be more vibrant and brighter colors and more detailed, right? So that's what I'm doing. I'm adding kind of the base like I did with clouds, and like I always work with all my acrylic paintings. I like to quickly lay out the shapes first, and then I like to, after I have the base down, I then go over and add the second layer, and sometimes third and fourth layer, to make it look even more cleaner and detailed, right? So that's what I'll be doing. I'll quickly sketch it out and then go back and have the similar colors, because acrylics dry fast, right? So I only mix about 4 to 5 colors, to get like the first layers down, and then I mix some more colors because acrylics dry, right? So then I mix more colors, similar ones, and if it's a little off, that's okay, because actually it's better when you have a little shade different, because the more color you add, a little different kind of shading, the more interesting your painting will look. And so that's what I'm doing. So this is still my first colors that I mixed for this part, this section, and later on you'll start to see I will add mix some more colors, similar ones, and start to add another layer on top of what I did here. And I like to work in sections so that it won't be overwhelming. I focus only on like parts of the painting, and then take breaks and not rush. Painting is supposed to be fun and relaxing, so usually I'll have music or listen to a podcast or something like that. And by the way, this is available as a 4-hour lesson in my mentorship program. If you are interested in my in-depth lessons, check out the link down below. So now I am going over and adding details with my detail brush, adding the little parts, little highlights, and little cracks in the rock. And so that takes a lot of time as well. But here it is. You see, I kind of worked and going back and forth, adding all my little details. The next section, I am working on this rock, which is a little more colorful because it's closer to us. And so we're going to start to see even more detail. And you could, there's no right way of shaping out your rocks. That's the fun part about painting, because I had a reference photo, but I kind of created my own shapes and didn't copy exactly like it. So I never really do. If I'm going off of a reference photo, I never really try to copy exactly. In the beginning, I remember when I started with acrylics, I used to be obsessed with trying to make it exactly the colors, the mixing. It was just overwhelming and made painting not fun. Over time, actually, I became more loose, and it made painting a lot more fun. To add your own rock. What if there's a bush up here? What if there's another cactus growing here? Painting is supposed to be relaxing and fun and exciting at the same time. All those happy emotions, right? That's why we do it. It's interesting to see, and I never know how it's going to turn out, because I have kind of a basic idea or a plan, but then it always turns out different than what I expected. So here I'm adding the base layers to the ground, and once I cover all the canvas and let it dry, I will then mix some more color and start to kind of shape out and add a little more detail to the ground and to my plants and rocks and whatever I want to add, right? So I'll spend some time doing that right now. Working on the next part, and I'm adding a little more detail, adding more cactuses and adding plants and bushes, things like that. So again, like always, I like to add the first layer real quick, and then once it dries, I then go over and add the second and sometimes third layer to make it look softer and fill in the shapes, right? Think of it as working in shapes. You created a shape and you're just focusing on that shape, and you can add as many details as you want to that shape. And that's how it is. That's how my mind works. I'm just focusing on one thing and trying to make it look the way I want it to look, right? So in this painting, more of the light is coming from the right side, and then the shadows are more going to be on the left side. You probably already noticed that, but it's important to know so that when you do add your flowers or bushes or rocks, as long as you add the highlights on more of the lighter parts on the right side and the shadows on the left side, you are good to go, And so here I'm adding a little more detail to the ground, getting my, again, dark shadows. Now I'm working on cactus here, added quick sketch. It looks rough right now, but I like to kind of shape it out real quick, and then I go over it again and try to shape it out. And while the background is not perfectly drawn out yet, I can correct easily this way. And now I'm going to add a little more shadows and start to add detail using my detail brush to my cactuses. So again, like the mountain and the clouds and my rocks, right? I once I have the shape filled in with smooth colors, or the colors that I want to be on there, I then with a detail brush add the final touches, the little highlights and shadows, and that's what makes it pop even more. And before I detail my ground and rocks, I'm gonna quickly draw and add shapes of my final cactus. This is gonna be the biggest one, and remember, think of it as just shapes that you're gonna fill in with color, right? And that's what I'm gonna do here. I added my highlight first, because that's where the light will be hitting them, and then I will fill it in with the lighter green on towards the top, and then towards the bottom it's going to be a darker green, right here, as you could see, I'm adding that first quick glaze, and then I'm adding a little bit Viridian to make it look a little more bluish, not too green. And then I added a dark phthalo blue with lamp black to create that nice transition between those colors. And then I'm using a damp brush, my number 4 brush, to quickly blend those in. And it's still rough, right? But that's the nice thing about acrylics, is because once it dries, then you could use similar colors, or you can use the same colors you have if you still have those mixed. Once the background is dry, then you go over it again and again until you're happy with the smooth transitions, because the second layer usually makes it look even solid and takes away the brush strokes. So again, it looks rough, but now that I have the base of my cactus, I can start to finally draw my rocks and color in, and the shadows and the highlights. As you could see on the right side, I added more of the lighter colors, and the left side has the shadows and the darker tones, right? And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend some time adding little rocks and the background of the cactus, and once I have that added and detailed, I then will start to finally add all my final details to my cactus. That'll be the last thing I'll do. As you could see, I added a lot of details with my detail brush, going over with the darker highlights and the brighter highlights. Now I'm finally gonna finalize this painting by adding details to this cactus. So I'm adding another layer. This is probably like the 4th layer on my top of my cactus. And once I have a quick sketch of these spikes, I then will go back and kind of step back and look at it, and will correct if I need to. And that's what I did. I kind of realized that I could make them a little longer and add a little more like bluer, because I'm trying to create that highlight. As you see, like that other cactus further away, it has the brighter highlight to the right, and then more of the darker shadow blues to the left on the bottom, right? that's what gives it depth and 3D effect. And so here I'm adding a glaze of lighter on top right here, and then I added a glaze of phthalo blue with a little bit of black to the left side of my cactus and on the bottom as well. And then here I'm gonna go back with my detail brush and finalize it and make some of them longer. And here it is. I'll be done for today. And I can always come back and add more details if I want, right? Totally up to each person how much work you want to add. And if you want to add more branches or more bushes or plants, go ahead and do that. Have fun with this. I hope you enjoyed this painting, and also if you got this far, you should be proud of yourself, because you know, this has a lot of detail, and I want these lessons to be very detailed for you guys so that you guys can catch certain techniques and be able to put them in your paintings, okay? Thank you guys for your great support. See you next time. Take care and God bless.